So let's go to the next verse. The conflict of the ages is Satan opposing God's plan for Israel. Israel are God's chosen people of promise. And so we have this description starting in verse 7, and war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels. Michael is one of the 7 archangels. As far as we know, there are 7 of them. The Jews name them all. The Bible only mentions 2, Michael, Gabriel. Michael always is fighting for and defending Israel. He's the one God has tasked, just like there's a prince of Persia, an angel like Michael that's with Satan for Persia, and there's another one for Greece, those are named. Michael's for Israel. And so he's fighting the dragon and his angels. If you ever heard of Frank Peretti, he was a Christian author in the 80s that was a phenomenal writer, and he wrote all kinds of novels about this and about demons and fights and everything else. Some of it is following the scripture, and a lot of it doesn't, but it's fascinating. But they did not prevail, and no place was found for them in heaven any longer. This is the moment. So the great dragon was cast out. Who is that? The serpent of old. Who is that? Oh, he's the devil and Satan. So what's interesting is the serpent from Genesis 3 is the dragon from Revelation 12. He's the devil from Matthew 4, tempting Christ in the wilderness, and he is Satan who's going to be cast into the lake of fire, and he is the god of this world. And he is the one, it says, Satan, who deceives the whole world, is cast to earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So finally, God confines Satan to being on earth. Now, already all those bad angels are in the pit, which is, the bottomless pit is on earth. But now all of them are there. And then there's this note in verse 11. And they overcame him. Satan now is raging against the Jews and any who are hearing the gospel. While this is going on, the 144,000 are still witnessing, and the 2 witnesses are still witnessing. We haven't gotten to the gospel angel yet. But there is this unstoppable wave of witnesses. The 144,000, which are described in Joel, is able to speak and all these. Did you know the gift of tongues? The 144,000 have it. They're able to communicate to every person on earth in their language. It's almost like the day of Pentecost, mobile. In fact, do you know what the 144,000 are? They're like 144,000 Apostle Pauls. Just think, there was one of him, and look what he did. He permeated the Roman Empire and started churches everywhere and even witnessed to the emperor. You say, witnessed the emperor? Yeah, Nero. How do we know that? Because Luke and Acts are the attending documents that were sent ahead. That's why Luke had to write them. Paul could not appear before Nero without a case because of Roman law. And so the defendant, the person that's being tried, Nero's lawyers had to read the case so they could advise him so he could quickly make a decision. And Luke and Acts were so well written. What was his decision? He freed Paul. Have you ever read Luke and Acts from a Roman perspective? Every time you read about a centurion in the Gospels or Acts, he's noble. Whenever you read about a ruler, he's just, and making a good decision. And it's not false. It was just a good presentation of Christianity, not being anarchist. They're not rioters. I won't even add the other word to it that is so much in our news. Christians were never seen as overthrowers of the government in the Bible. They are nowadays, which has diluted the Christian message. We are not to conquer America. Christ is going to conquer America. We're not. We're not rioters. We are not those who fight for America, our rights in America. Yeah, if you serve in the armed services and defend our country, but you don't fight the government. The most corrupt leader of the day was Nero, and Paul said, be subject to him. Peter says, pay your taxes to him, be subject to him, to the king. Not just that, honor him. A lot of Christians don't. And they're not behaving like Christians. See, God raises up and puts down leaders. God picked Hitler too. And all of these things are part of his majestic plan that we so little understand. And so what's going on is the Antichrist is coming through, and they are overcoming the Antichrist by the blood of the Lamb, by the word of their testimony. And look at this. They didn't fight and try and kill or whatever the Antichrist. They didn't love their lives to the death. They were willing to do the ultimate sacrifice and die.